Welcome, my dear astrology friends. Welcome to this horoscope reading for the month of November. Can't believe it. It's already November. Anyway, let's get started with these November horoscopes for all the signs. And let's first of all, as an introduction, have a look at what this month is all about. November is definitely, in general, a little bit calmer for sure. Although there is quite some masculine energy going on, and I'll explain in a minute why. But we are now, as I'm recording this, between the eclipses. And so October is definitely a much more eventful month, you could say. And November is a bit more like, what are we going to do with that energy? What are we going to do with the changes that have occurred lately and with the information that we're getting from those eclipses? So do check out those videos about the eclipses, the one in Libra and then the one that is occurring around and about the 28th of October, because they are going to put certainly that last one, which is quite a positive one when it comes to ground ourselves, and when it comes to things become a little bit calmer and a little bit more possible to manifest stuff. That gives the setup for, you could say, November time. But in November time, no eclipses, no Mercury retrogrades, no Venus retrogrades. So, I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while since we have had a month where things are going a little bit smoothlier. Saturn goes direct as well. I'm not going to say that for every single sign, but it's important to notice as well that Saturn, which is at the very beginning of Pisces, is at the beginning of the month, around the 5th of November, it's going direct. So it's showing that we're manifesting now, and that we're still in territory that we already were in the past, but that we are now manifesting and trying to put our boundaries in areas of our life that is not so easy to put boundaries. You know, it's Pisces after all. But in general, what is going on here, as I said, I think it's a very masculine kind of energy that we are meeting here. And that is because the Sun and Mars are going to conjoin quite a couple of days with each other, first in Scorpio, and then they travel together in the sign of Sagittarius. So when is that going to be? It's going to be around in about the 12th of November and the 22nd of November. So you could say the midst of that, we have that Sun conjunct Mars, and it's in a very hidden sign of Scorpio. So especially Mars is very strong in Scorpio because it knows what it wants. It has high desires, and it's going after what it wants. Not in a direct way like Mars in Aries, but in a bit more of a, you could say, an indirect way, but in a more strategic way. So how can we use this at its best? Sun conjunct Mars is actually when you want to start something new and when you need a lot of energy. And when you need a lot of energy that is strategic. So actually for anything that has to do with business, for anything that has to do where you have to be patient, but at the same time taking action and pushing forward, then this is the perfect energy. Especially when there are a lot of competitors around, for instance, or a lot of people around that you have to do a little bit of this, like standing your ground. And I all mean that in a positive way. So we can definitely, I'm going to read where that falls in your chart so that you can apply that. The focus is on Scorpio. Of course, we are and happy birthday for the Scorpios and also for the Sagittarians at the end of the month. But in the beginning, you could say, there is an emphasis on Scorpio. There is an emphasis on transformation and on these things that I just said about how do you proceed? Where you don't proceed like you're pushing forwards and you're just very open. No, you're doing that calmly and surely, and you know where you're heading, and you just make sure that your intention is correct. Because if not, with Scorpio energy, it could turn the other way around. It could turn into destruction, basically. You know, what they say, everything that we start with, you know, trying to manipulate or these are not the best energies. And in the end, they're going to work against us. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term. So what is it that you want to transform, but that you want to really do hands-on to transform your life? This is, Scorpio is the sign of transformation, but it is with letting go of something that we have no control over and to put focus on the things that we do have control over, that we're stepping into that power and that strength, so that we don't have to force things, but that we go with the flow, but we know what we're doing. And then already on the 9th of November, Mercury goes into Sagittarius, then on the 9th to 10th, then on the 22nd, 23rd of November, the Sun goes in Sagittarius, and the 25th of November, Mars as well goes in Sagittarius. So that's a way more open energy. It seems like first we need to strategize, we need to be patient and to know what we're doing and to, you know, to make a plan basically. And then we can go full force, because Sagittarius is very buoyant and it's very optimistic, and it's a very hopeful sign and optimistic sign that has really, really that intention of growth and expansion. So it is interesting. Meanwhile, Venus is in Libra. So Venus is going to shift into, from Virgo, where it's in its fall, to a much better, not a better sign. For Libra is not a better sign to Virgo, of course not. But it likes it there more, because it's easy peasy for Venus to be in Libra, because it's more social, it's more open, it's light, it wants to have that balance. It doesn't want to make a fuss. So that's why people who've got Venus in Libra, they're so charming, they're so agreeable, and of course they try to have the balance. There's some contrast to that as well, but that is where we will find a lot more balance. So I'm going to have a look at that as well. So again, this is not like the most important month, I think, in my humble opinion, but it certainly is one to look forward to when we want to improve our connections with this Venus in Libra. And when is that happening? Hang on. I wrote it somewhere. I must have written it somewhere. It must be at the very beginning of the month that Venus goes in the 9th of November, around and about. Then it goes into Libra. So I'm going to do these horoscopes. Why? Because I did plenty of other horoscopes that are way more important, I think. Like, certainly for now, the energy of those eclipses are so important. But anyway, November for Aries. For Aries, this very masculine energy, the Sun and the Mars in Scorpio. So at the beginning of the month, it is more centered towards your 8th house. Then around, you could say, certainly when the Sun goes into Sagittarius and then followed by Mars, that's more towards the 22nd of the month. So that it is in your 9th house. So it almost seems like you're preparing something. You are preparing something, because don't forget, Mars is your ruler. You're feeling good, but for some reason, you're keeping it hidden, what you want and your intentions. Sometimes it can be a good thing. Sometimes it can be a good thing. Sometimes, of course, it can be very sneaky. So depending on what your intentions are. But let's assume that you want for positivity and that you're going for that and for growth. This is working behind the scenes for sure. For sure. You could have also working around investments, working around money that you share with a business partner or with your spouse or with someone else, that you're trying to make really an effort to make it work and to do so. And again, remember what I said in the beginning, if you're going to do that, surely, slowly but surely, it's better than to go full force. So, of course, it can also mean that you're going to do things behind the scenes that you don't want to be known, and take into account what I also said about the manipulation. So, because that can backfire. Now, I think this will be quite okay for you, because then at the end of the month, everything shifts towards your 9th house. And there it is in the open. There you have that positive mindset. The 9th house is a mind house. And it's about that positive that very positive mindset of yours and being active there. The Sun and the Mars in the ninth house, I have that natally. That is putting a lot of energy in your philosophy, astrology, travel. I mean, these are absolutely the things that I have that. When you have that natally, you do get energized by doing those things. So when you're doing the same, like travel, writing and publishing, making YouTube videos, traveling, and being very active abroad, doing things with culture and whatnot, and strengthening your connection with the divine, you will really, really have this encouragement that will really get you towards a positive ending of this year, even if this year was difficult, and towards the starting of the new year. And Venus is in your seventh house, so you want to relate to people. If relationships were hard in the past, Venus in the seventh is a blessing. And yes, this can mean when you are single that you meet someone new abroad. Whilst you're doing activities in sports, for instance, abroad, you can meet someone. Absolutely. Anyway, romantic as well. Taurians, this is important. Like those first, such a strong energy in your seventh house with the Sun and Mars there in the seventh house. Whew, whether you are single or not, someone is catching your eye and your attention. And I think it's a very masculine energy. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, but a very masculine kind of this is who I am energy that is standing in front of you. When you have the Sun and Mars in your seventh house, you have to be careful. You have to be careful of not being very selfish, of not being, I want to do this and this is my truth and I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. It's not really, definitely also in court cases and so on, when you have the Sun and Mars in the seven, it means that your opponent is very strong and also has a reason to stand up for themselves. So it depending on why this is in your story, there seems to be a person that is a bit agitated, that is a bit, could be, but not in the open. It's a bit sneaky, it's a bit, it's like someone that is like feeling a bit like a pressure cooker almost. And so you have to be careful here if you want to know what's going on, to let them speak, to let them show what they desire. So it's something about, because Mars and the Sun in Scorpio is a lot about the desires of people and what they want. And you can decide whether you're going to say, okay, I understand it or not, but at least be open to have that cooperative mind that you want to cooperate, because otherwise it could be like, a cutting off of a connection as well. And of course, for better or for worse, some connections might be doing that, but it's that person that is a bit fired up in a good way. Like, let's say that you meet a new person, that you are single. This could be a very fiery, masculine kind of person that is very strongly, how would I say, that wants to do stuff with you, that wants to do things with you. You know what I mean? In a very positive way, it can mean that you both are going to do so many physical stuff together. It doesn't always have to be sex, but it can be like you doing sports together, you traveling together, you being very active together. So that's the positive side. And but Venus in your sign, not in your sign, but in Venus, which is your ruler, in the sign of Libra, which is in your sixth house, is like you're finding more stability in your day-to-day life. So that can help. Now, this shifts towards the eighth house, which is, with this Mars and the Sun in Scorpio at the end of the month, 22nd, 23rd, it shifts into the eighth house. So it shifts into an area of your life of secrets, of things that are hidden, of things that you are fearful of. So a lot of transformation for you towards the end of this year. And the best thing that you can do is be very authentic and very real, and having the best intentions for yourself and others. If you're doing things above board, you cannot go wrong with this. If you're being sneaky and doing things because you want to manipulate, this is not the best energy either. So it is a bit tricky energy for you, Taurians, but at the same time, it needs to be. You know, there is this breakthroughs that you are going through, and that's a good thing for sure. Geminis, you of course are having your full moon on the 27th in Gemini at 4 degrees of Gemini. So there's definitely things coming to the light, definitely things like, hey, this is me versus this is someone else with their wants and needs, and versus you with their wants of needs. And it's best to show that. But this a lot of activity at the same time with the Sun and Mars and Scorpio in your day-to-day life. So this is good for fixing problems and doing that again strategically. It could mean a bit of a bossy kind of energy that you're meeting in the work office. So especially when you do work in an office, in a company, there could be some issues coming up there. Whatever it is, use your charm, dear Gemini, and use your wittiness, but be very honest at the same time, you know, because this can backfire when at the very end of the month, the 22nd, 23rd, is Mars and the Sun comes into your 7th house of relationships. So that means that kind of a bossy, you're kind of attract now people who are really saying, hey, what's going on here? You know, a bit of a bossy with the hands here like this, and what's going on? And that is because they are a bit fed up with something, and it has to do with you as well. So certainly when you're in a relationship, when you're not in a relationship or you're attracted to someone, it can be someone who's very fiery, and it's in Sagittarius. It's very optimistic and jolly and flamboyant and whatnot. It can be very sexual as well. It can be very, you know, you doing things together physically with this person. It's very good energy for that. And fiery, you know, doing sports together, traveling together and whatnot. And Venus in your 5th house. Wow, this is lovely. So definitely when you're single, you could be meeting someone and who's got those traits of being very optimistic, sporty. It doesn't matter when they are a female or a male. You know, if it's a female, if you are a male and it's a female, it's definitely a woman who's very independent and doing her stuff, doing her thing, and it can be very, very attractive, of course. If you're a woman, this can mean that you're attracting a man who is a bit more buoyant and who has that lust for life. So all in all, nice energy for the Geminis. Cancerians, wow, this is a very nice emotional kind of flow of energy in your 5th house there, with the Sun and Mars there in a fellow water sign of the sign of Scorpio. So certainly for the single ones amongst you, this is hot energy. Scorpio is hot energy. The 5th house is a hot house. It's the house of sex. It's the house of the things that you love to do, whatever it is for you. It could also mean sports. It's also, the 5th house is, if you say Veerle, I don't need sex at all, or I'm not really keen on that. It could be sports. It could be something that, you know, that you put a lot of energy in, or an investment. If you are thinking about new investments, the 5th house is the house of creation. It's also the house of, you know, where you want to put your money in. A bit risky though, but as this goes very well with your Cancerian energy, and Venus is in your 4th house, this could be a sign of real estate or buying or selling something really smoothly energy. And, you know, the 5th house is one of my favorite houses because it is about you expressing yourself in a very spontaneous way. So definitely do some stuff that you love to do. Go out there, go to a restaurant, go to the movies, go to a cafe, go and see a play, or whatever it is that is fun for you, do so, because there's very good energy for you available here. Then it shifts towards the also children. Yes, the 5th house is the house of children. It could also mean the Sun and Mars there in the 5th house, that your child is a bit more masculine than normal, right? It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl, but it's a bit more, but you will deal with that in a good way. And then towards 22nd, 23rd of the month, it's more a focus on your day-to-day life, on day-to-day level, or on, the day-to-day work, the routines that you're going to do, the fixing of the problems. There's a lot of optimistic energy throughout the end of the month, maybe for preparing for the end of the year that you want to finish that up. Still a lot of good energy over there. But definitely for people who are single, a lot of romance is possible for sure. The heart is going faster with that Sun and Mars in your 5th house. It's the house of love, so enjoy it. Leos, this is happening in your 4th house, this Sun and Mars. Now, this is a bit tricky energy to have, the 4th house, because the 4th house is your emotions, it's literally your home, and we want it there to be fluent, to be peaceful, and so on. And now you're having those 2 male planets there that sometimes can make a fuss, that sometimes can make a little bit of trouble there. And so there could be some fights coming up, and they're a bit behind the scenes, right? It is a bit behind under the radar, or how do they say that expression, right? It is not really in the face. So it could be like relatives, and there is a bit of a competition in a way, or there's a bit of struggle going on there. Whatever it is, use it at its best with open mind, open heart. I mean, and with the bright intention. It could also mean that you do a lot literally at home, so that you work a lot home, or that you're doing some things to shift your home, to improve the home, anything like that. Towards the end of the month, it shifts into a way more fun house, and especially for you, the Sun and Mars in the 5th house for Leo, and that is in Sagittarius. Then to just 22nd of the month and onwards, it's fantastic to do sports, to make love, to have some fun, to go out, to do some sports, and to relax and to enjoy yourself, and to go to a restaurant, and to just do things that you love to do as a child. To do something active with your children, going out for camping or something like that. It's really fantastic energy. Could also mean a romance that is, when you're single and with Venus in your 3rd house, you're communicating a lot. Maybe you are rounded about in the neighborhood and you're being all social there. And you're going, for instance, for a workshop, and you meet someone new, and hobbies could be related to that as well. And off you go. You're having a wonderful time. Virgos, this is in your communication sector. This Sun and Mars in the 3rd house. So mind your tongue, dear Virgos. Mind your tongue. But as Scorpio goes well with Virgo, I think you will do well. But certainly if you want to say something, and if you want to do it, like if you have your own business, if you want to do some PR, like new stuff, doing like a new website or whatever it is, take your time, strategize and all of that, and you will really, really be successful then. On another level, you could do a short trip. And it will be a very active one. With this Mars and the Sun together, you could even be doing some sports there, or walking around, running around, whatever it is that you want to do, or studying, putting a lot of effort in studying. Maybe November time. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in November time here in Belgium, they say, when you're doing studies, like university, college, whatever, November time is the first test, right? Because then, you still have a month to do those exams in December or January. Anyway, it's a lot of energy. So very, very good indeed. Now, meanwhile, Venus is in your 2nd house. So you're feeling good about yourself, hopefully, right? A bit better than it was. And Venus in the 2nd house can also mean more money coming in for you because you do the good PR, or because you're communicating a bit more stronger than normal, and putting your boundaries there, and saying what you're saying and meaning it, and being really trying to, stand your ground there, not push too hard, but standing your ground. And Venus in the 2nd is definitely also a time where you can buy beautiful stuff. I mean, Venus in the second can mean that you buy that beautiful piece of jewelry that you've wanted for a long time, or that you are just buying a new computer. You know, it's something that you find very valuable and it's very beautiful because it's in Libra. So, and then towards the end of the month, so more toward, it's a bit more stressful. It's like before the holiday season, you could say that you're probably gonna clean like no other, with the Sun and the Mars in the fourth house around the 22nd of November and onwards, because it's a good way, though. You know, Mars and the Sun in Sagittarius, which is a lot of fiery energy. You know, in a negative way, it's like, you know, being the wiseacre all of the time. You don't want to do that. Or family members that are being the wiseacre, you want to avoid that. So you want to use that energy at its best, which is not necessarily cleaning, but working in the house could be good. You know, working in the house and doing some new stuff and getting all excited about that. Librans, this is in your second house. So the Sun and Mars, a lot of activity there, a lot of strategic things that you could do to improve your finances, for instance, to improve your self-worth. And it could be you really being active with your possessions and with buying, selling, doing lots of things there, and also hustling for the money. Absolutely. Venus is in your sign, so use your charm. If you want to get a promotion, for instance, and you want to do something that increases your income or improves it, but be smart there and be wise and strategic. You know, if you want to investigate that a little bit more, put some more energy in it, and it will be better. So, because the Sun and Mars is where we put our energy in. So, put your energy in improving your resources, and it's material stuff, and that you can improve to, or work harder to get more material stuff. But the first house with Venus there is very charming. As I said, it's a fantastic energy here to have, and it's like you loving yourself, and that shows, of course, and people seeing you for who you truly are, which is a true Libran who wants peace, who wants balance, who wants things to go smooth and fair. Now, towards the end of the month, it is a bit more towards communications. It becomes a bit more busy with the Sun and Mars there in the third house around the 22nd and onwards. There's more focus on communicating, speaking, writing, telephones, emails, all that kind of stuff. If you want to improve your own business, do some short trips to have some inspiration. You know, this is Sagittarius after all. Or do launch a new website with more languages, for instance. You know, Sagittarius, international affairs is definitely a Sagittarian trait. But definitely you could be learning something new as well. Starting something new that you want to learn hands-on. It's more a hands-on kind of thing. It could be a sport that you want to be better at, or it could be something that you are learning and that demands quite a lot of energy from you. Scorpios, of course, Scorpios, the new moon on the 13th is at 20 degrees of Scorpio. So that's your new moon. So for you, it's like happy birthday, but also a new beginning. And wow, is this a boost that you're getting with the Sun and Mars in your first house? So if you have ideas for new starts, it's the time. It's a very good time to start something new. And especially if it demands a lot of energy, physical energy, but also mental energy. If you have to think the plan, first I have to do this, and then I have to do that, and then I have to apply for this or for that, it's perfect time to do so. And yes, Venus is in the 12th house, so it seems like on a level of, it's not really the time of socializing here, it's more the time of, you could say, maybe you're dreaming of someone that is maybe you are single, for instance, and you're falling for someone who is not single, right? It could be the fact with Venus at the background. So on the level of love, things are like a little bit more behind the scenes. right? So, but that happens often, and it's not for all of you, of course. Sometimes it can simply mean that you are a bit more, taking care of people that are in need, or voluntary work, for instance. That's also Venus in the 12th. Or you could just relax and have some more private time, and go for for the weekend to a faraway place where you can relax and have a wonderful time. It could be that as well. But mainly focus on those new things that you want to do, where you do need a lot of energy. Then it shifts into your second house, which is around the 22nd in Sagittarius, which is more about, hey, I want to get money out of this, right? Maybe you have a plan or a project or a new job or something new here. Now, in relationships, be mindful that you're going to be a little bit more fiery here. So on the one hand, it's a good thing if you, maybe other people have crossed your boundaries here. To set boundaries is very good for that. But just make sure that you're not overreacting, right? Because then you could scare people away. Isn't that a scorpionic kind of thing? I mean, no offense here. I'm just trying to be nice here. And trying to be light towards Scorpios. What am I doing? Anyway, my Venus is in Scorpio. I love Scorpios, by the way. Sagittarians, this is all happening in your 12th house. Whew, that is a bit tricky, isn't it? Because having all that masculine going forwards energy, Mars wants to go, and the sun wants to shine, and then it's in the 12th house where it is very dark. But it could mean to shine the light towards old patterns, towards your shadow, to maybe you're having some really, really dreams that are very lively, that you're saying, what the hell is going on here in my dreams? And I'm a bit restless, and I'm a bit like, I can't sleep. I have all that energy, but it's like, they say, I don't know where I've read that, but when you have Mars in the 12th house, that you're probably living out a lot and using a lot of energy in other realms, right? So you could be doing that. Although, take this with a piece of salt. I mean, we're here, right? We're on planet Earth, and we're here for a reason. We're not here just to walk into other realms all of the time. But typically with this Mars in the 12th, it feels like you could be doing things behind the scenes in a good way. This is fantastic to help someone out, to help someone who's in trouble, who's really needing of your help. So definitely do that. It's a very, the sun and Mars together in the 12th can be very healing. Your energy can be very healing for others. And because you're more in that helping and in that compassionate state. On a bit of a more pitfall level, it is self-undoing. So make sure that you're not doing things to escape, definitely when they are negative, whether it is, risky sex, for instance, Mars in 12th house, or that will have consequences, Scorpio. So anyway, whatever you're doing behind the scenes with not the best intentions, it will backfire for sure. And but I do think that when you stick to those intentions, that you want to show your compassionate self, that you want to prepare maybe some things that you want to do in the future. And the future is not far away, of course, because this Mars and this sun is going to shift in your sign at the end of the month on the 22nd. Mercury is already there on the 9th to 10th, but then follows the sun and Mars at the end of the month. So what a lot could happen for you is that you can't tell anyone about your actions because, for instance, you're preparing for a new job. You want to leave the old job and you can't speak yet because if you do, it's not going to work out the best. But you may be preparing for having a new job and then having to be silent towards other people. And that can be, a bit of those times when you are making those shifts and you already know where you're heading, but you have to keep your cool. It's that kind of energy. You can use that definitely in the right way. In the wrong way, it's very easy, but it's more interesting if you're doing it in the right way. it's too easy to go for the wrong way, isn't it? Sagittarians want to do things in a bold way and in an optimistic way. And my goodness me, you're going to have the Sun, Mercury, and also Mars in your sign at the end of November. That is amazing. That means like new plans, new projects, new jobs, new way of relating to people. Especially if you have been letting all people walk all over you, it's not going to work with this Mars and the Sun and Mercury. You're going to say the truth. You know, you are a truth seeker, and people sometimes run when you're doing that. But, you know, it is what it is. Meanwhile, Venus is in your 11th house. This is amazing. So on a social level, it's nice. It's nice to be amongst friends. It's nice to, of course, what this also can mean is that Venus in the 11th, you know, it can be a friend that becomes a little bit more than a friend. So maybe you're doing some things behind the scenes and you're with this friend of yours because, you know, no one can know yet. And then when the Sun and Mars comes into your house, in your sign, you're saying, hey, this is my new lover. And everyone is saying, what? Yes, he or she has been my friend, but now they're my lover. You know, something like that could happen. I mean, this is a beautiful story, of course, but anyway, it's an optimistic one, isn't it? On another level, this could be a time where you socialize a lot, and definitely with the Sun and Mars in your sign, you're going to be very hot, for sure. And just make sure that you're not coming, you know, that you, because I say about Sagittarians, sometimes they're so fired up and they know the truth, but not everyone is ready for the truth, right? But anyway, you're warned here. Capricorns, this is happening in your 11th house. The Sun and Mars in the 11th house can mean a bit of competition there in the friend zone. Or that can mean that on a positive level, you do something very active with your friends. Could mean that, you know, you go for skiing. Is it already possible then? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But anyway, it's being very, you could say, active with friends. It could mean you being very active in social media and taking the lead, but you're strategizing all of that. If you're having your own business, this is fantastic. The Sun and Mars in the 11th house, because the 11th house is a financial house when you have your own business. It's the second house from the 10th house. Then you could really go full force and taking the lead, and because of that, having more income. On another level, it could mean like with friends, there are some, you know, sharpness and things behind the scenes that are happening there. But just be truthful. I mean, I don't think this is going to cause you any problems. But Venus, so the planet of love and attention and smoothness is at the top of your chart. So, which is a bit like a second ascendant. So people see you as very charming. Not that you're not without Venus in the 10th, but it's extra charming if you want to make a promotion or have a good chat with your boss, for instance. Now is the time with Venus in the 10th house. Someone can help you with work as well. Because Venus is about connections and it's in its own sign. It can really help you out for a new job, for instance. And then at the end of the month, it becomes a bit more withdrawal for you because the Sun, Mars, and then Mercury, definitely as from the 22nd and onwards, all those planets in your 12th house. That's a preparation. It could mean that you as a true Capricorn is preparing for the next year. So it's preparing to conclude everything for this year, right? Whether it is business, well, mostly business and so on, but it can also mean at the end of the month that you are preparing something behind the scenes that that you're not showing to others. And hopefully you're showing it to yourself, but not to others. So it could mean that you're preparing like a new job for the future, right? So, that is a bit restless energy, having the Sun and Mars in your 12th house. So it could give a little bit of sleepless nights there. But whatever it is, try to use it at its best. Try to do those things behind the scenes in the most positive way for the most positive goals for yourself and others involved. Okay. Aquarians, the 10th house, lots of activity if you do have a job in the workplace. So the Sun and Mars there, it could mean some tension though. And some, tension, you can't put your finger on it, things are not really clear. It's in Scorpio after all. So it could mean that there's a bit of bossiness going on there and people trying to manipulate you. Whatever it is, you're going to see it, you're going to see through it, and you will have to stand your ground for sure, and you will. It can also mean that you're working very hard in a job and that you're putting a lot of energy there. And Venus in the 9th can also mean that you're learning, that you maybe because of a job, or you have to do some traveling, or some learning or teaching, but you're feeling a bit more. With Venus in the 9th, it's very supportive on a way that you feel more connected with all there is. The 9th house is the road to God, and you can feel much more in line with the divine, and that is a fantastic thing. Now, towards the end of the month, the 22nd and onwards, it's a very social time for you. I mean, the 11th house is your house. It's the house of the Aquarian. And there you're going to have Sun, Mars in Sagittarius. It's being bold with friends, doing stuff with friends that are very active or physical. So you could be skiing or whatever, or doing some sports with friends, or being very active. If you have your own business, the 11th house is social media. You could put a lot of effort in that and really spread your message. And it's a very positive energy. Towards the end of the month with the Sagittarius energy and then the Venus in Libra, it's very beautiful for the Aquarian because it's nice energy for you. Pisceans, the Sun and Mars in the 9th house. Lovely. I like that a lot. Of course I do. I'm a bit, how do you say that? How do you say that? I don't know the word. But anyway, I have that in my natal chart. The Sun and Mars in the 9th house. And that is putting a lot of energy into 9th house stuff, which could be travel, study, anything that has to do with higher study. So like philosophy, astrology, but higher study of some kinds. It doesn't matter what, but you're just focusing on connecting all the dots rather than just doing a study that is very hands-on and practical. The 9th house is a bit more abstract. So if you want to study something that is rather abstract, go for it. There is some new energy here and it's in Scorpio. You want to go deep. It could literally also mean that you're working hard to improve your connection with God or the divine or nature, if you like, but with something that is bigger than you. And you're actively taking those steps of meditating and of going very deep in order for you that you know that you are a part of the whole, that you are an element of the whole. But it's definitely positive energy because Scorpio is water energy and that goes well with Pisces energy. So very good to travel, to learn more, to expand. It's the time to expand and to work actively on that. If you're traveling, to be very active as well. You could be skiing, for instance, or, being very sportive there for sure. Venus is in your 8th house, so your love life could be a little bit more intense because of that. It's in Libra, so you could have better intimacy with the people that are very important in your life. It could also mean that your existing relationship is undergoing a transformation, for better or for worse. So there is some sort of a death and rebirth energy when it comes to your significant romantic partner, if you have them. And if you're single, it could mean more intimacy with someone. It could also mean more money. Attracting more money from other people that, or people that are alone, attracting a loan if you want to, with Venus in the 8th, or an inheritance, or an investment even. It could mean that as well. Now the Sun and Mars are shifting. in your 10th house around the end of the month, around the 22nd and onwards. And that is really like putting more effort into work. So it could mean that the workload becomes a little bit more if you do work. Otherwise, it's about how you express yourself in the world. You are a bit more out there and you are a bit more out and about, but in a very buoyant, optimistic, inspired kind of way. If you would want to have a new job, for instance, this is energy of putting a lot of effort into a new job because you have to do some traveling, for instance, because it's in Sagittarius. It could mean in the workplace also a little bit more competition going on. But I think with the Venus in the 8th house and you're feeling valued by someone and by others. So I think you will do well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.